Take a moment and look around the room you're sitting in right now. Do you see shelves that are overflowing, drawers that barely close, or boxes stacked in corners that haven't been touched in years? If you're like many older adults, you might feel a pang of guilt just looking at all that stuff. Maybe you think, I'll get to it someday, or I might need this again. Or maybe the thought of sorting through decades of belongings feels so overwhelming that it's easier to avoid it altogether. But here's the truth. Decluttering as a senior isn't just about having a tidy house. It's about safety, fewer tripping hazards, easier access to what you actually need. It's about peace of mind, less visual stress, fewer piles nagging at your brain. And it's about freedom, creating space for the life you're living today, not the one you lived decades ago. Yet here's the surprising and often frustrating reality. Most older adults fall into the same 8 common mistakes when they try to declutter. And unfortunately, these mistakes can make the whole process harder instead of easier. They can lead to exhaustion, frustration, and even more clutter than when you started. Think about it. Have you ever tried to sort through sentimental items, only to end up keeping almost everything? Held on to duplicates just in case? 3 coffee makers, 5 sets of towels, or a garage full of rusty tools? Or maybe you've gotten halfway through decluttering, bought bins and boxes to organize, and then realized you never really got rid of anything in the first place? If any of that sounds familiar, you are not alone. These mistakes are incredibly common, but here's the good news. With the right approach, you can fix nearly 99% of them. And that's exactly what this video is about. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 8 biggest decluttering mistakes seniors make, and more importantly, show you the simple shifts that will make the process not only easier, but also empowering. By the end of this video, you'll not only know what to avoid, but you'll have clear, practical strategies to help you create a home that feels calmer, safer, and more welcoming for you and for anyone who walks through your door. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and stay with me until the very end, because these insights could transform the way you see your home, and maybe even your daily life. Now let's get started. Let's start with perhaps the hardest category of all: sentimental items. For many seniors, these are the things that hold the heartstrings. Boxes of old birthday cards, shelves of photo albums, closets full of clothing that belong to someone who has passed away. Maybe it's gifts from your children when they were little, or decorations that only come out once every 10 years but feel impossible to let go of. And here's the thing, every single one of those objects carries a story. When you hold them, you remember a person, a time, or a feeling. That's powerful, and it's deeply human. But here's where the problem begins. Over the years, these keepsakes can multiply. One box turns into 3. A single drawer becomes an entire closet. Before you know it, your home starts to feel less like a space for living and more like a museum of your past. And while the memories are priceless, the piles themselves can quietly steal your comfort. A cluttered home is harder to clean. It's harder to move around safely. And it can even weigh on your mind, because instead of feeling peaceful in your space, you feel surrounded by unfinished business. Psychologists explain this beautifully. When we attach memories to physical objects, we sometimes believe that letting go of the object means letting go of the person or the memory. But the truth is, the memory lives inside of you. The love, the connection, the moments, those don't vanish when the item is gone. Let me give you a story. Martha, a 78-year-old grandmother, had saved every single handmade gift her children ever gave her. From kindergarten drawings to high school art projects, she had boxes stacked in her attic and closets. She admitted that she felt guilty just thinking about getting rid of any of it. as though donating those items meant she was throwing away her children's love. But when her daughter gently helped her go through the boxes, something shifted. Martha chose just a few special keepsakes that truly captured her children's personalities and their love. She framed a drawing, kept a handmade Mother's Day card, and set aside a favorite photo. The rest? She let go, donating some, recycling others. And to her surprise, instead of guilt, she felt relief. Her attic was no longer bursting at the seams, and her home finally felt lighter, freer, more livable. This is the key. Sentimental decluttering isn't about erasing the past. It's about making room for the present. So how do you do it? Here are a few simple but powerful strategies. Set a limit. Decide ahead of time. I'll keep one small box of cards or one drawer of keepsakes. Limits protect you from drowning in memories and force you to choose the most meaningful ones. Choose display over storage. Instead of boxes hidden away in a basement, pick a few treasures and put them on display where you can see and enjoy them every day. A framed photo on the wall brings far more joy than 200 photos gathering dust in a shoebox. Take digital photos. For items that are too bulky to keep, like old furniture, children's artwork, or even clothing, take a picture before letting go. You'll preserve the memory without preserving the clutter. Share the love. Involve your family. Sometimes a child or grandchild will treasure something you no longer need. Passing it on can feel like giving a gift, not losing one. Here's the truth. Reducing sentimental clutter is not about forgetting. It's about honoring your past while making space for your future. By keeping only what truly represents your memories, you allow your home to become a place of peace, not pressure. So when you're faced with those boxes of keepsakes, remember, you're not throwing away love, you're making room for more of it in your everyday life. The second big mistake many seniors make is something we've all been guilty of at one point or another: keeping duplicates. You know what I mean. 3 sets of measuring cups, 5 different flashlights, 6 winter coats even though you only wear one, or a garage full of tools where half are rusty and forgotten. These duplicates sneak into our lives slowly, often over decades, and we justify keeping them with the same phrase: what if I need an extra someday? Now, at first glance, having backups might seem smart. After all, growing up in times when money was tight, many seniors learned the importance of holding on to things. There was comfort in knowing you had spares. You never wanted to waste. And if something broke, you had another ready to go. But here's the catch. While that habit once made sense, in today's life stage it can actually do more harm than good. Instead of feeling prepared, you end up feeling crowded. Instead of providing security, duplicates create stress. Think about it. When you open a drawer and see 5 can openers, do you feel calm? Or do you feel slightly irritated, fumbling through them just to find the one that actually works well? Every duplicate adds visual clutter, which clutters your mind. Every extra takes up space you could use for something else. And ironically, many seniors still reach for the same favorite version every time, while the others just sit unused. Let me share an example. George, a 74-year-old retiree, had a garage so full of tools that he could hardly walk through it. When his grandson asked to borrow a hammer, George started looking and realized he owned not 1, not 2, but 7 different hammers. Most were old, rusty, or broken. And the funny thing, he always used the same one anyway. After sorting through, George kept the 2 that were in good condition and donated the rest to a local charity. When he stepped back, his garage suddenly felt manageable. Tools were easier to find. And instead of feeling guilty about hoarding extras, he felt proud knowing someone else could actually put those duplicates to good use. That's the power of letting go. Duplicates don't make your life easier. They weigh it down. So how do you fix this mistake? Here are some practical steps you can take today. Step 1. Audit each category. Pick one area at a time: kitchen, tools, linens, clothing. Ask yourself honestly, how many of these do I actually use? If the answer is 1 or 2, you don't need 5. Step 2. Choose the best and let the rest go. Keep the versions that are in good shape and that you actually enjoy using. The chipped mug, the broken flashlight, the dull knife, they're not doing you any favors. Step 3. Try the trial box method. If you're not sure whether you'll miss an extra, put it in a labeled box. Store it out of sight for 3 to 6 months. If you never go looking for it in that time, that's your answer: you don't need it. Step 4. Donate with purpose. Remember, what you don't use could make a big difference in someone else's life. That extra winter coat might keep someone warm. The extra kitchen gadget might help a young family. Letting go can be a gift. Here's the truth. Duplicates don't double your security. They double your clutter. By keeping only the best and letting go of the rest, you create order, clarity, and peace. When you open a drawer and see just the items you actually use neatly organized, it feels different. You don't feel buried by choices. You don't feel weighed down by extras. You feel free. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "But what if I need an extra someday?" Remember George and his 7 hammers. Keeping 1 or 2 is enough. The rest can be released. And in doing so, you'll gain not only space but also peace of mind. What happens? One of the sneakiest forms of clutter is paper. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first. Just one bill on the counter, a magazine you meant to read, a letter from a friend, a church bulletin, maybe a receipt from the grocery store. But before long, these papers multiply like rabbits. You might find yourself with entire stacks of newspapers you meant to go through, folders of old bills, drawers stuffed with receipts, or piles of unopened mail. This happens to many older adults for a few reasons. First, paper feels important. Unlike a broken spatula or an old sweater, a paper could contain something valuable: financial information, personal notes, or even memories. Second, paper piles are out of sight, out of mind until they aren't. Many people tuck them into drawers or boxes, thinking they'll get to it later, and later never comes. Over time, a few months of neglect can become a few years of built-up paper mountains. Why it hurts? Paper clutter is not just messy. It creates stress. When every surface has piles of mail, magazines, or receipts, your home begins to feel chaotic. It also makes it harder to find what you need. Have you ever needed an important document, a medical bill, insurance form, or tax paper, and spent hours searching through stacks? That frustration is exactly why paper clutter is so draining. But there's another danger too: safety. Stacks of newspapers or old mail can actually be a fire hazard, especially if placed near heaters, stoves, or electrical cords. And for seniors, large piles of paper on the floor can become a tripping risk. Imagine getting up in the middle of the night and bumping into a box of papers. That could lead to a serious fall. There's also a mental burden. When paper piles sit around, your brain sees them as unfinished tasks. You might not realize it, but every time you walk by that pile, a little voice in your head says, "I need to deal with that." Multiply that by every stack in your house, and it's no wonder many people feel drained in their own homes. How to fix it? The good news is that paper clutter can be tamed with a few consistent habits. Here's how. Create a clear system for what to keep and where to put it. Invest in a simple filing cabinet or even a small binder with dividers. Label folders for categories like medical, insurance, bank statements, taxes, household bills, and personal letters. When new paper comes in, it either gets filed immediately or recycled. Be ruthless about letting go. Not every piece of paper deserves to stay. Old grocery receipts, expired coupons, outdated magazines, they are just stealing your space. Remember this rule. If the paper doesn't serve a legal, financial, or deeply personal purpose, it doesn't need to stay. If you struggle to let go of old magazines or newspapers, ask yourself, will I really read this later? Most of the time the answer is no. Give yourself permission to recycle without guilt. Go digital whenever possible. Many banks, utilities, and doctors now offer online statements. Switching to digital billing reduces how much paper comes into your home in the first place. For important papers you don't want to lose but don't need physically, use a scanner or even your phone's camera to make digital copies. Store them on a computer, external drive, or cloud service. This way you keep the information without the clutter. Set a routine to stay on top of new paper. Paper clutter builds up when we don't deal with it regularly. Make a habit, maybe once a week or twice a month, to go through all incoming paper. Sort it into 3 categories: file, shred/recycle, and action needed. For example, if a bill comes in, pay it right away or put it in a visible spot in your action folder. If it's a flyer or junk mail, toss it immediately. Shred for safety. For any papers with personal information, such as old bills, bank statements, or medical documents, don't just throw them away. Shred them to protect against identity theft. A small shredder can be a great investment for peace of mind. Bring in help if needed. If the piles feel overwhelming, ask a family member, friend, or professional organizer to help you go through them. Sometimes having another person there makes the decision-making process faster and less stressful. By following these steps, you'll notice a huge difference. Your counters and tables will open up, your home will feel lighter, and most importantly, you'll feel calmer and more in control. What happens? This is one of the most common and sneaky clutter traps. Keeping items you don't use now but might use someday. It starts small. An old cake pan you haven't touched in years. A sewing machine that hasn't seen daylight since the kids were in school. Or exercise equipment that's now collecting dust in the corner. Before you know it, entire closets, garages, or basements are filled with things you're holding onto for a future that never seems to arrive. For many seniors, these items carry the thought, I might need this one day. Maybe it's that extra suitcase just in case of a big trip, or the set of gardening tools you haven't touched in 10 years but might get back into. The truth is, while these objects feel useful in theory, in reality they sit unused year after year, quietly stealing your space. Why it hurts? The problem with someday items is that they rarely get used. They take up valuable storage areas that could be used for things you actually need and use now. For example, closets overflow with old coats and shoes, leaving no room for the clothes you wear every week. Kitchen cabinets stay jammed with rarely used gadgets, making it harder to reach the pots and pans you use daily. Basements and garages become so packed with boxes of just-in-case items that they stop functioning as usable spaces altogether. There's also an emotional weight. Every time you see those items, you're reminded of a project you should do, a hobby you might get back to, or a life stage that's behind you. Instead of inspiring you, they quietly nag at you. Over time, this creates mental clutter. A sense of being stuck in the past or waiting for a future that isn't coming. And let's not forget safety. Overstuffed storage areas create tripping hazards, block pathways, and make it harder to access the things you really do need. Many seniors actually feel anxious digging through overfilled closets or garages, worried something might topple over. How to fix it? The solution to someday clutter isn't harshness, it's clarity. Here are a few practical strategies. Ask the golden question. When was the last time I used this? If it's been more than a year or even 2, chances are you won't suddenly start using it again. Let the time frame guide your decision. For example, if you haven't worn those special occasion shoes in 3 years, will you really wear them again? Practice current lifestyle thinking. Your home should serve the life you live today, not the one you lived 20 years ago, and not an imagined one that might happen someday. Ask, does this item support my life as it is now? If the answer is no, it's probably safe to let it go. Try the maybe box method. For items you're truly uncertain about, place them in a box labeled with today's date. Store it out of sight. If you don't go into that box within 6 months or a year, it's proof you don't really need what's inside. At that point, you can donate or discard everything in it guilt-free. Keep what brings real joy or usefulness, release the rest. Some items may genuinely make you happy to keep. A favorite board game you still play with grandkids, or tools you use every gardening season. Those deserve a place in your home. But if the object is tied only to guilt, obligation, or a vague maybe, it doesn't deserve your space or energy. Donate and bless someone else's life. One of the easiest ways to let go of someday items is to think about how much more they could mean to someone else today. That extra set of kitchenware you never use could help a young family starting out. That old exercise bike could be useful to someone who needs it now. Giving away items not only clears your home but also blesses others. Shift your mindset from scarcity to trust. Often we keep things just in case out of fear that if we let them go, we'll regret it later. But in reality, most things can be replaced if truly needed, and often they're never missed once gone. Trust that if you need something again in the future, you'll find a way. Meanwhile, enjoy the freedom of space and peace right now. Imagine this. Instead of walking into a garage packed with boxes of someday projects, you step into a clean, open space where you can move freely. Instead of fighting with a crowded closet, you see only clothes you love and actually wear. Instead of living with the nagging thought of unfinished projects, you feel lighter and more present in your daily life. Letting go of someday clutter isn't about loss. It's about making room for the life you're living today. You see, decluttering doesn't have to be a giant mountain that feels impossible to climb. It's not about emptying your home overnight or tossing away everything you've ever owned. It's about recognizing those little habits and mistakes that slowly build up over time, and choosing small, practical steps that make your daily life easier, safer, and more peaceful. Think about it. Every item in your home should either serve a purpose or bring you joy. If it's not doing either, then it may be holding you back, not just by taking up physical space, but by taking up mental space too. When you let go of clutter, you're not just cleaning. You're creating freedom. Freedom to move around without worry of tripping or bumping into things. Freedom to invite friends and family into your home without feeling embarrassed. Freedom from the constant nagging thought of, I need to get to that someday. And maybe most importantly, you create peace. A decluttered home feels lighter, calmer, and more welcoming. It's a place where you can truly relax, where your energy goes into enjoying life, not managing stuff. So remember, it's not about throwing away your memories or stripping your home bare. It's about honoring the life you live right now. Keep the treasures that make you smile, the tools that make daily living easier, and the keepsakes that truly warm your heart. But don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. Because every time you release an item that weighs you down, you make space for something far more valuable: peace of mind. Now I'd love to hear from you. If one of these mistakes really stood out to you today, tell me in the comments below. Maybe it was paper clutter, maybe it was holding on to someday items, or maybe it was duplicates you've never noticed before. Type #5 if mistake number 5, or whichever one spoke to you most, resonated the most with your life. Your comment might just encourage someone else who's struggling with the same thing. And if you found this video helpful, would you do me a small favor? Give it a like. It helps more people discover these tips. Share it with a friend or family member who might need some encouragement to declutter too. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll get more helpful videos like this one every single week. Remember, decluttering isn't just about cleaning up your home. It's about creating a life that feels lighter, safer, and filled with the things that matter most. You deserve a space that lifts you up, not one that holds you down. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to you, living in a clutter-free, comfortable, and peaceful home.